Ron Salvatore, Will Grief, Gus Lopez, and Todd Chamberlain. So we'll give them a big hand.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I know it's late in the day and a slow monotone voice and I tend to put people to sleep, so it's okay if you fall asleep, but at least half of my audience is sleeping past before. Yeah, I wanted to ask everybody, how many of you went to the display panel back in 2010? Anybody here? I know Tommy did, and Bob did, so there's only a few, so that's good. We changed things up a little bit from the last display panel, and here's what we're going to go over to. Next slide. So how do you get into collecting displays? So some of the ways you can do that is online, obviously on eBay. So it just shows here, we have a dealer, collector here, Todd Chamberlain, has some displays at his booth. They're really not that hard to find individually. There are certain ones that are much rarer than others. But really, it's an easy thing to jump into. Some of the things that I love about displays, they're generally visually stunning. I'm going to show you an example of a lot of different types of displays that were utilized throughout the course of the last 40 years. We've got some examples up here. You're welcome to come take a look at after the presentation as well. They really complement various different types of collecting. And we're going to demonstrate that also by showing off some, not our own collection, but some of the other collectors that are in the audience today, showing how they display their displays and their collection. Some of them can be very rare and then very valuable. And it's really, for me, it's very exciting. Now, looking back to like 7 years ago or so, when Todd and I did this presentation at that time, and actually Ron and Todd, I think, did presentations previous to that, displays have gone through ups and downs as far as popularity. More recently, they've become very popular, and there's been a surge in price over the last couple of years. So a lot of these can be very pricey, and we'll talk about that a little bit as well.
In fact, some of them, like if you had a sheet of $100 bills, the surface area would be worth less than many of these displays because they're so ridiculously valuable.
So some of the displays are smaller and are easier to display. Some are much larger, they're coveted, they're very rare, but some collectors just don't like to go after them because they're too huge, difficult to ship, and difficult to display on their own. Todd, do you have any comments on the size of displays?
Well, I'd say my general guideline would be that minor exceptions, there tends to be an inverse relationship. The bigger displays will sell for less because people just don't have room. Some things that take up the space of this table, and there aren't that many people that have the space to do that, and if they do, it just ends up sitting in a closet. And so a lot of times people will come to me and they'll try to sell me a display, either to go out of collection or for resale. I have to kind of let them down and say, well, actually, it's really hard to get people to buy a big talking decorator standee from the mid-90s. And the
Dawn sheer display.
So,
sure. Any other comments? Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the US Kenner displays. We're going to go over some of the displays that came out. Kenner is a toy company. They created all the major action figures from 78 to 85. That's kind of the thing that I've been going after personally, but also that's probably the most coveted portion of vintage Star Wars collecting is the Kenner displays, and they tend to go for a lot more money than typical non-Kenner displays. So, I was referencing our display panel 7 years ago, and in the front row of that display panel, probably sitting right there in the fourth seat, there was a gentleman who interrupted us a couple times, but very cordially. His name was Eric, and we were looking to show off a picture of an early bird whole kit display. We didn't have a picture because it was that rare, that difficult to find. Neither Todd nor I, or Gus, really had a complete set of this display. And he kind kind of interrupt and says, oh, I've got that one. And then we would flip to the next slide and say, oh, I got that one too. And we'd flip to the next slide and say, oh, I got that one too. So right after the panel, Todd and I jumped on him and said, hey, you have pictures of your stuff? And he actually did. And it took maybe like how long, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years.
Year and a half, but he had flown to the show specifically because he had gone online to do research about Kenner store displays and came across the description of this panel. Like, he was not going to come to Star Wars Celebration until he discovered that there were people presenting on it. He wanted to know. He had worked as a stocking clerk in the late 70s and up to maybe around 1980 when he was in high school. And that he had acquired all this stuff for free. With the exception of the early
And you can tell by the image in the background on the wall there that for Will and Todd, finding this was a pretty blessed moment.
Yeah, so we met in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area, and he showed all the stuff and was happy and willing to sell it to us, and we split the collection. Todd ended up in that display after a flip of a coin at Denny's at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it still resides in Todd's collection to this day. So that's the earlier kit on display. This one, there are probably less than 5 of these known, and this is probably one of the 2 complete kits that are in that. Next. So here's another very early and coveted Kenner source, I think the most certificate in here. These show up sporadically, not as rare as that one was preceding us, but the recent one actually sold at auction for $20,000. This one was special in as much as it was in pristine condition and it included the shipping case, which is relatively rare to find. And you can see on that shipping case that not only did it include the display, but it also had all the earlier certificate packages. Because of the comments on that, since it's now
Well, there are at least 2 crazy people that did that one up. I'll say that. But no, there were a couple more that surfaced shortly after this came up in the similar price range. So this one, extremely rare display, extremely high demand, and it didn't I feel like it's been almost a decade since one of these had surfaced. So that was part of it. But many of these displays, you go years between seeing a public sale of one.
Although it's interesting with this display, when this was showed up at auction and sold for a lot of money, magically 2 or 3 more of these, maybe not complete in this condition, showed up for sale that same year, right last year. So that sometimes happens. It's very rare displays.
Yeah, and as both Will and Gus mentioned, condition really plays a big part in this. So this is a valuable display on its own, even incomplete. It's just the header card that's valuable. But I think the thing that pushes it up to the big value range here is the unused nature of it, the fact that it still has the shipping box, and it's just condition-wise, you'll never find anything better. So that's an important thing to keep in mind when you look at this stuff.
And then next one. So this is an kind of oddball display that I really hadn't seen. I don't know, Todd had seen until we landed that collection from 7 years ago, and it looks relatively boring, but it's very difficult to find, and it's one of the first displays that was released. And it's obviously, as you can see, it's a poster set that has these bright, vibrant neon colors, which is actually a little bit unusual for the typical Star Wars display. And it appeared in one of the earlier Kenner catalogs. You can see that's what the posters look like, and that's what the display would look like in the shop filled with all of those displays. So that's something that it's probably pretty rare because it's relatively oddball shaped, sized, and it's not. I mean, it has bright, vibrant colors, but it doesn't have something that you would hang on your wall. Some of these headers would. Excellent. Talk about the comments on the places.
No, it's definitely. I know 3 examples that I've seen over 20 years.
So the other thing that I find fascinating about displays is even though when you think you know everything about a certain topic in Star Wars collecting, there's always something new that pops up. And over the years, I have sporadically picked up things here and there, and you can see in this shop there's a bunch of different displays, and nobody could really piece together that they were all part of the same merchandising kit. In addition, you can see on the floor at the bottom there's little buttons next to the Han Solo figure. Previously, those buttons had been thought to be handed out of Toy Fair, but thanks to Ron presenting us with some pictures that were found by a friend of his, actually found that this was all part of one big merchandising kit. The other very interesting thing, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, you see that Darth Vader standee folded up. So Kenner took these standees and they were produced by factors. They were actually one of the earliest things that were merchandised, I believe, back in 77 or 78.
There are 70, or sorry, 75.
Yeah, 77. So Kenner used an off-the-shelf item for marketing all their toys. So what they did was they cut a hole in the little plastic that was holding factors and just slapped a Kenner sticker onto the factor display. A lot of people just don't know to look for that. More recently, there have been just random factors displays that have shown up with the Kenner sticker that kind of corroborate that.
As Will mentioned, the factors displays were from 77. Todd mentioned that's some of the earliest merchandised material. I don't know if people are familiar with the fact that Kenner really didn't get most of their toys out until 78. But I think these pictures, these displays that Will has spotlighted here are probably some of the earliest Kenner display material, meaning they were out in 77. At that point, Kenner probably had the puzzles on the shelves, some of the other early paper items before the action figures were out there. So these are very early display items. And in order to supplement the stuff that Kenner did on their own, they seem to have purchased those standees from factors and branded them with the Kenner logo and then put them into stores, which was something that was rumored for a while. I think Kenner employees had said that it happened. And then sure enough, over the years, several examples have turned up with those Kenner logos on it. So it's one of those instances of something you hear later on, that piece of knowledge, you're able to use it to find something out there and add it to your collection.
There were also some factors posters that had chemistry.
So there's a shot of merchandising kits set up in the store. You can see that big Star Wars is here, huge sign that can be put around the bin or can be hung up. And you see a little Chewbacca factors standee, a big Chewbacca factor standee. And you probably can't see too well there. On the bottom there's a little Kenner sticker. Here's an artist rendition of that merchandise. So those are the posters that Todd mentioned. So one of the popular and relatively easy things to collect are bin headers. And this is a 12-pack bin header. It can sell for anywhere from $500 to $1,500 depending on the condition. But this one's actually relatively easy to find. Very nice appearing, goes well with card figures. It's something that's probably a starting point for people who want to come to display. Those headers went over a bin, the figures would sit on a bin, and that would sit on a shelf in the stores. Die-cast headers. Here's another example of a header that came out on the Boba Fett pre-action figure. You can barely see on this, but there's a sticker that's walking out the rocket fire picture of the Fett. There's an example of one, so it's a person. And here's how it might appear in the store.
Oh, so that Darth Vader, that Darth Vader image in the middle there at the top, that's a factors poster.
Another thing that's interesting about this image, I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to try to use this laser pointer. On those 12-pack header cards there, you see a little graphical item there. That is actually a plastic dangler that shipped with the initial assortments that included the Tusken Raider, the Jawa, and the Death Squad Commander, which were the last 3 figures of the first 12 released. So that would have come in the shipper with the figures, the bin, and the header card, and then someone attached that little dangler or wobbler to the header cards in order to advertise those 3 new figures, which is a pretty interesting detail.
Yeah, if you look at that picture, if you were in the stores back in the 1970s, you probably won't be seeing that little dangler. You'd be going after that nice sign to hang up on your wall, to go along with your figures. So those danglers are actually relatively rare and worth a lot of money. Next slide. So this is an example of a great looking display. Actually, I saw those on the show floor. I don't know if it was for sale or not, but it was being displayed. I think it was under the anyways, it's huge. It's a great looking display, but it's huge. And this, for several years in language, as something like as Todd referenced, was a great looking display, but it was just too big, too cumbersome to display.
This was my whole trail over. So I ran a toy shop ad non-stop. Toy shop magazine ad for maybe 3 years. I thought to say I was buying displays, and I especially noted this one. I bought hardly anything out of that ad for a 3-year period, but I finally had one person contacted me at 2 weeks.
And here's a demonstration of the Toy Center gondola that are being displayed in stores back in the 1970s. You can see there's also a Toy Center bell hanging there, and some inns and shelf pocket as well. Great pictures. Thanks for catching along for providing us. So that was Star Wars. I took a lot of time on Star Wars. I don't want to spend too much time here on the Empire. This is an example of another great Empire display. The displays that show off the action figures tend to go for a lot more money. It's more coveted. That's just kind of the thing in vintage Star Wars collecting. It's got an action figure on it. People want it more. This one's interesting particularly because it shows instead of using the production Boba Fett figure, which was available at the time of release, instead they used a picture of the
Kit Bash.
Kit Bash Rock. Looks like. Another beautiful display. Set of 32 figures, 41 figures. This one also exists without the figures on the bottom. Although it's controversial whether that was actually released in stores or not.
I picked one up from a collection and then CGA collection.
And here's a picture of how they were utilized in the stores. So sometimes they'd be hung from the ceiling, or alternatively, we put on a wire rack where the figures were merchandised.
Anybody want to go in there and buy some of those figures?
All right, next slide. Here's another cool kind of crossover display. This is the Kenner movie ticket rebate display. This was something that was promoted by Kenner. Kenner was the originator of this display, but it wasn't displayed in stores per se. It was displayed at movie theaters to promote a rebate offer. Relatively difficult display to find, and another one that I was very excited to find was shipping involved, the paperwork involved. Next one. Another example of Empire era display, big 4-door with the gondolas in it. And here's it being used in the store. At the top of the end cap. This one also is a very cool picture because you can see how things weren't always just, hey, Empire area, they only had Empire merchandise and displays up. In the back on the left-hand side, you can see a little Toy Center bell off in the corner. So there's probably a spectrum of availability for these displays and when they were being displayed in stores. Next slide. Return of the Jedi has several great looking displays. These are probably in the past they had before, but now they've also kind of climbed in price. Probably the average value of that particular gondola pair ranges from $1,500 to $1,400. There's a version of this that's not die cut, and changing from collectible 65 to collectible 79. And they, instead of just having that one artwork on one side, they added these figures on the next slide. Another great display. This is relatively, the passive is relatively fine. Next slide. There's a little variation on this. Probably most people don't care about it besides the working sales table. But most of the time they came with these 8 shelf toppers. And actually there's several of these shelf toppers available for sale before. Those shelf toppers were about $250 a piece. So they typically come with 8, next slide. But they also, as you can see in that shipper, sometimes they cut it down to 4 shot toppers instead of illustrated with these ones. But there's no variations like that QO2 plus. Next slide. There's a bunch of shot toppers. Next slide. Power force active for the quick back, another highly desirable display. The header itself is nice size. The bin and the trays are very hard to find because it's not something that you can save. You guys have it.
This one has the added appeal that collectors love the kind of Power Force promotion Kenner had, and also the coin. So it ties in a lot of elements that just, you know, are kind of a perfect storm for display collectors.
All right. See, I told you guys, my slow monotone voice is putting me to sleep. That's okay. We got some excitement coming up here. We got Ron Salvatore, and he's going to talk to us about Kenner documents demonstrating number of produced displays. Yes.
So one of the things that I'm guessing at least some of you are wondering is how many of these were made, and the answer is not that many for the most part. But there's never really been that much solid documentation for that, so it's never been really possible to say, well, this was made and there was X number produced. Until a friend of ours ended up buying some material here, or acquiring some material from a Kenner source that actually detailed production numbers of some of the action figure and other toy displays that Kenner produced. So here's one of those documents. Unfortunately, I thought Will was briefing this part, and I can't really read it.
I'll be honest. The numbers are not that. No, so what's interesting about these documents is that Kenner actually ordered several, like they ordered a quantity, and sometimes that quantity didn't come. Sometimes that quantity would come, and then they wouldn't put them out. So Kenner was tracking these very closely to look at, hey, we ordered 1,500 displays, and how many just got put out in stores. So for a lot of the initial displays, most of those were put out. When they transitioned though, those are the type of displays that would get ordered and produced, but then we get put out. And as an example, what was interesting that showed on this documentation was that there were 21 bells, collect all 21 bells, bell sign, and it showed 21 action figures. That was probably one of the most common vintage displays for quite a while because they turned up in mass. So Kenner probably had loaders that they didn't put out. Not only did they, when they discovered on mass, they discovered on mass in the shipper permanent, in perfect condition. So very interesting information that came out of this. And really, they're not, for several of these, they were in the range of sometimes 500, sometimes 1,500.
Okay, well, Will was talking, I scrutinized the sheet closely so I could read it. Just to give you an idea, that Toy Center, the large header that Will talked about with Death Star that was back at the top, according to this document, at least at the time this document was made, Kenner had only produced 1,000 of those, and they hadn't shipped them all. So 1,000, I guess, it could sound like a high number, but when you're talking about nationally, and then years later it would still exist, that's a pretty low number.
Numbers. It's a numbers. All right, next one. All right, non-Kenner. We made it through Kenner. Let's go to non-Kenner displays and advertising, and then it over to Todd.
So Will actually owns this piece here. This is another piece from that collection that we bought from Gary. But this is a friend of ours had picked these metallic 3PO face images in cans years ago, and again, this idea, no idea what it's for. He owned it for probably 8 years before Will and I bought this collection. Like, oh, it goes to this, but then it also means that it goes on a header that I haven't had. So,
I don't know if you guys noticed this or not. I don't know if it was this wall. It was actually probably the final wallpaper. You guys were watching the 40th anniversary presentation of Carrie Fisher memorial, and that first shot, there was like that Empire Strikes Back wallpaper in the background. It was very interesting. It wasn't this display, but it was the wallpaper in the background.
but what I like about this thing is that it's a pretty minimalist piece, so it gives this idea of a full 3PO standee, but actually the only thing of 3PO that exists for this display are the feet, the shoulders and hands, and the head, and then behind it is basically just a plain black cardboard column, and then it just made to hold the sheet of wallpaper. But I would say, as a general guideline, the more expensive displays tend to be the Kenner pieces, because like much of the hobby, Kenner and actually things tend to be the highest in demand, but there is a lot of really cool and obscure things to collect in the hobby area. So if you're looking for things that are graphically appealing, that have that vintage angle, but you want to have to stay more on a budget, that there's a lot of cool things to collect.
It really leaves it to your imagination what's going on in the wall.
Your next slide. All right, so here's some examples of color. This is a poster for the Texas Instrument watches on the one side, and that's a Texas Instruments produced display. There's also a counter display version of that. The other element over here that says Hills is it's just a small little counter display, but it uses line artwork for the Factor's pendants, which the Factor's pendants were one of the very first licensed items that came out, and the Texas Instrument watches also were. But this store must have created the line artwork for their own game. These are two different companies, but the artwork is clearly the same, so that they actually went to the effort to create their own artwork, create a display for their. Next slide. This is a really nice early display for the leather shop belt buckles. It's the only example that I've seen.
Who are your collecting belt buckles? See, I knew this was you, exciting. It's wonderful.
Next. All right. Next. Here's a nice colorful poster for the rum mugs, which are again a very early item. Really, it's a red background on this thing that really makes this pop a lot.
This one I threw there basically just demonstrate an example of display that wasn't really widely known up until recently. It's a full display. These posters popped up recently over the course of the last year.
Well, and I guess another thing that the nice thing about vintage displays, and especially I think the earliest vintage displays, is it gets more standard. Throughout the license, most marketing gets more standardized. And so a licensee, the license holder, property owners of Disney and Star Wars, they like things to look consistent. Whereas earlier on, you see a lot more variety because the individual companies that were making product can basically decide what things look like. But then later on, Lucasfilm starts creating like established sets of line or certain photos and things. They basically say everything that comes out needs to have this kind of range of things. So this is a more unique look. So here's an example of the poster display, a grocery store display, and then the other is this is both displays and advertising. So this is a newspaper ad for Safeway stores that I bought in a bunch of that stuff. Pretty fun. Next. This, Will actually doesn't know the full story of it. This is Will's display, but so from the idea that one of the fun things about displays and promotional pieces is they can sell for a lot, but they're also the search terms and the ways that things turn up are sometimes very far distant from where you would. It's not you're putting a display. So somebody sold. This is like about a year ago. Someone was selling a vintage Star Wars collection. It had a bunch of pretty beat up, like really beater Kenner toys, incomplete ships, and they had 5 of these, 4 or 5 of these Pine Sol merchandising kits that they had just scattered across 5 different lots. And so I only wouldn't found out about it because someone asked me, "Hey, what is this?" And they had me because they were overseas and they couldn't. Overseas bidders were blocked up. we still, clearly enough people who had some idea that this was an interesting piece, it didn't sell for dirt cheap, but it definitely sold for more than those toys would have sold for. But there weren't a lot of bidders because it wasn't listed as an advertising piece, it was just listed as, vintage Star Wars lot. But this guy who sent the link to me has seen the photo and oh, what's this kind of weird thing down here in the corner?
And I think the 4 people sitting at this table are the only people that search eBay for plain salt.
Next slide. Fred, I couldn't do this presentation without putting a Fred Meyer slide in here for Ron because, and I'll just there's no such thing as Fred. I put this is a newspaper circular. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. If you're from the Pacific Northwest, you shop at Fred Meyer. I mean, was an early leader in selling groceries and lumber and whatever you wanted to buy. And I'll tell you, I love Fred Meyer. That's when we bought toys. But my more general point is that a lot of people like to collect things related to the store chain. So whether it's buying an action figure that has a price sticker on it for the stores that used to buy things, or advertising or store pieces that are specific to chains, and that's there are a lot of different branches and ways that you can get involved in collecting. Because I am trying to collect every vintage Kenner display, every vintage Star Wars display I can, and I have been doing this for 30 years and got a good head start. I mean, it would be a daunting task to even think about. And so there are lots of little niches and ways to get, if you decide that you want to get into this, where it's not about kind of having to do everything. So, and then the other piece is it's for a newspaper rack to announce the start of the Star Wars comic series. So they get some of their versions of these for newspapers from all over the country. There's some, the Star Wars trilogy piece is a late 80s piece, and it kind of really shows the style. You put displays over from different periods, and they kind of show an idea of the graphics at the time. And so that's something like that. Like pick that up for $15 or $20 on eBay for this 20th anniversary Golden Books header, which has a nice version of the style scene. This kind of Dave Lowe Stormtrooper is a style display that's used a lot for multiple Star Wars licenses around the special editions, and the other piece is a theater display for this popcorn bucket. And again, these are the kind of things where you can find these things sometimes for, you might pay $20 or $30, but you can find things like that sometimes for $10 or $15.
You can also find them for free at the movie.
If you time travel back to 1997, go on. This is a Japanese phone card display. It's, I don't know, I go fucking Japanese phone cards these days, but I just thought it was an attractive display, and someone offered to me at a decent price. So this idea of I love the fact that they're continuously finding things, displays or lines that I didn't know had any kind of signage or things like that, or you find graphics that you don't know what they're for. I picked up this display 20 years ago, and it just has a 1977 or 78 date on it. I have no, the artwork doesn't really align with anything. I'm still not entirely sure, but our friend Pete Gilmer recently picked up a whole, maybe like 6 or 8 different displays, all in the same shape from one source, and they're all in dates ranging from 77 to like 82. And our only guess is that potentially it might be like a library display. So does that ring a bell for anyone? Like a bolo like this hanging in a library? Anyone? All right, no. Somebody answered one of my questions. I knew the answer, just like I didn't know what it was. But anyway, I love the fact there's always new things to learn. So
Come on, audience, help us out with this order.
all right, go on.
What would it be a story?
What's not a store display? All right, it's just a display.
All right, so
So we're
we're
going
going
to transition to discuss your
Yeah.
some off-ball and food and drink related displays.
previous panel, Jonathan and Tom covered food collectibles, which is a really interesting area. One of the reasons is that it's so varied by different countries and different licensees. So go to the next slide. We'll start with this one, which is kind of a cool one because it ties the Kenner toys with food collectibles. So this is a promotion with Coca-Cola.
And the theater.
And theater club, yeah. So you have this kind of Coke cups at the movie theater promoting at the end of the Return of the Jedi line, beginning of the Power of the Force series. Although it was still under Return of the Jedi banner, but it was the figures that were coming out of Power of the Force. So it was one of these that just ties in a lot of interest areas of collectors. It's this bright, colorful poster display. And basically the promotion was that you had these cups and you could kind of win various prizes. And one was, the grand prize was like I think a whole line of Kenner toys as the grand prize. So great poster. I mean, I picked up one of these a few years ago. I'm not sure of many others of these out there, but the promotion was fairly widely.
It's pretty hard to find. Will as a complete kid. I found one on a Friday evening. It was a buy it now with a best offer for $100, and I was like, I am not taking a chance on saving myself $10.
Yeah. So this one is one that Todd and I have been hunting for these for years. We've seen it, and there's some photos of a full assembled display. So this was a kite promotion that General Mills did for their cereal boxes. So there were a bunch of Star Wars cereals that had promotions in 1978, and there was a mail-away offer for 2 different kinds of kites. And the way this display, had it basically had some poles to stand it up. It had a kite that went kind of across the middle. It showed the different cereal brands along the sides. And it also came with shelf talkers, those 9 things you see towards the bottom right, that basically had these tear-off coupons you could mail away to get these kites. Now these kites do turn up. You see them on eBay. People I sent away for these kites at the time. But surprisingly, the displays, just nobody saved those. Occasionally you'll see the kite forms turn up, but in partial versions of this display turned up, pieces of it. But then just one of those things, somebody.
It's a big display printed on cards, more of a heavy cardstock rather than corrugated. So I think it's just flimsy.
It's flimsy, yeah. It can get worn easily. And I had somebody just contact me and say, by the way, I have one of these in a shipping box, was just never used. And that's what's pictured here. It was all the pieces of it in the box, and it came with the 9 shelf talkers unused. And so that I picked it up years ago, and it was just one of those things. If you can make it known that you're looking for various things, it sometimes helps you when things land in your lap. And this is to promote same era. So they had these hang gliders. So General Mills, what they had done for the bicentennial, they had done actually these patriotic hang gliders and planes and stuff. And so they kept reusing. One of the common things in cereal collecting is they reuse the premiums. So they just kind of said, all right, we're going to make cardboard hang gliders out of Star Wars ships. And so they kind of redid them, and they were promoting the X-Wing in this case on tricks. And this was a little card that would go on a shopping cart. So they had little slots on shopping carts, or it could go on a slot on a shelf. And I think the dimensions were that for a shopping cart. And so just kind of a smaller display, but these really don't turn up very often. And this was also the same era. Cheerios was another General Mills brand, had a poster offer. Basically where you had these posters that came inside the cereals, and they had coupons, and they had you could mail away and then cut out proof purchases for various Kenner toys, and then mail away for rebates. And it actually, one of the awful things about these promotions was that kids would cut up the boxes of their Kenner toys. So many actually Kenner collections today are because people cut proofs of purchase from all these mail away offers.
This is also an example of kind of how things cluster up, and you might see multiples of something, and then you don't see them anymore, or vice versa. And then actually, I'm pretty sure that all the examples that I know of this kind of came from one source in Toy Shop years ago. I passed on this at the time. It was more than I wanted to pay, and now I haven't seen it. I haven't seen one for sale for 50
This is a photo. I had my wife hold the poster 23 years ago. It was we took that photo back then, and I haven't seen a single one turn up since then, really. And a few I got from the Toy Shop from that point, and that was it, and we haven't seen more of it. So, Yeah, so I'm going to cover some international displays. Some of these are food related, some not. But we'll cover them from different countries. So next slide. There was a big Coca-Cola promotion for the first film, A New Hope. And Coke basically had a bunch of stuff that you could like mail away for a T-shirt. They had different characters.
That's a snazzy looking T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah. Will's wearing a Sarlacc parody T-shirt of it, but it's a really cool. Actually, the T-shirt's very difficult to find. And they had these vinyl banners. You see 3 different ones towards the left, and this poster. One funny thing for me about this is that I had bought all these displays from a prominent collector in Japan years ago, and I packed them away in a tube, and I'd totally forgotten about them. And then like years went by, and I was like unpacking stuff, and I'm like, what's this? And I was like, oh yeah, I bought. And then I realized like, wow, that was a dumb thing. How did I forget that I had these incredible displays? These are just beautiful displays. So now I have them in the food room in our house. But the poster is incredible too, because it has this awesome kind of artwork. Like it looks like Luke took like a 2,000 watt hair dryer and blow dried his hair to full 70s form. And but I love it how it shows all the different Coke brands, all the bottles, and just beautiful artwork on all the stuff. So these are very tough displays to find. Even collectors in Japan have a tough time finding these. And for Empire Strikes Back, the only country in the world that did a cereal promotion was Kellogg's in Australia. And there was this display, this artwork of Darth Vader appeared on various food premiums and promotions in different licensees in the world at that time. But it's an extremely rare kind of Kellogg's display. And it has also the Empire Strikes Back logo in yellow is not a common thing you see. Yeah, the only really example of a cereal display from Empire. For Return of the Jedi, Kellogg's also did a promotion in Australia. And they had these little decoder game pieces that had, you could kind of rub off and win various prizes. And so the Kenner toys were part of the prizes. You could win like pretty much the whole line of Kenner toys. And the game pieces do turn up once in a while, but the store display, of course, almost, food collectibles are tough on their own, as kind of Jonathan and Tom covered. The displays are just on a whole other level. And then when you think of displays from Australia that has like a tenth of the population of the US, you can get a sense of like how really difficult it is to find these things. Then also from Australia, there were several ice cream licensees. Peters was one of them, and they had a gentleman called Paul's, and they had so they had these signs in different sizes, and so basically they had these like neon colored like ice creams at the time, and there's different wrappers and so on. But again, foreign store displays for food collectibles, super tough to find. Even people from those countries have a hard time finding them. And then this is one of my favorite food displays. This is from the UK. And this was a wall sausage display. And they basically had a shelf talker to kind of promote. They had these Letraset rub-down transfers that were available in packages basically of hot dogs in the UK. And they had 2 varieties of these hot dogs that they have kind of pictured here. And I don't even know if the actual hot dog packaging has ever even turned up, but this is how it was promoted in stores that the wall sausage had.
If it did turn up, it would be in Gus's freezer.
I probably would move the sausage. All right. Next. So another thing from the UK with these mallow-shaped like biscuits, and these, what I think is fascinating about this display. So this display is super tough. We know of maybe like 3 of them out there. And I've spoken to a number of collectors from the UK who've said, oh, there's only like 1 known out there, and there's like, I know like at least 3 or 4 US collectors who have, I think most of them are in the US now, when those things have turned up. But I know again, like many of these displays, you can count them on your hands, and many of them are out there. But it's similar to some of the other displays we saw, where it's designed to also be the kind of shipping box, so when the food was kind of delivered, it folds up, but then the box transforms into a display that can promote it in the store. It makes it really easy on the store shelves. This is the display from the Netherlands for the action figures. This one has an interesting story that Years ago on my website, the Star Wars Collectors Archive, which all of the panelists have contributed heavily to, we got a photo from a collector who picked this up. And this is this form of display with kind of a wire rack and then like a header card they used in a few countries in Europe. And the header card's a little bit sun-faded, so it's probably like at the front of a store with the sunlight beaming on it. But the collector had shown this on the archive something like 20 years ago, and recently sold it, put it up for sale, and I said, I'm interested in it. And he said, well, actually, in many ways it's fitting that it would kind of come home to where it had been featured on the archive. And so it's just an unusual kind of foreign display. Not great for people who collect unpunched carded figures, though, because the racks are designed to kind of put holes right through those punch holes. And these are displays from Spain for Enrico for basically some pastries that were sold for the Droids of Ewoks cartoons. The Droids of Ewoks had heavy promotion in Spain, and a lot of products from different licensees. And Enrico had an offer where you got little plastic figurines, 10 from Ewoks, 10 from Droids, and they came in a variety of colors. You can find these figures available, you see them on eBay all the time, usually way overpriced. But the display boxes for themselves, I've only seen a few examples of these, so they would come in these display boxes, and these are flats of those boxes. And then this is an example of, there are also some knockoff items that came in store displays. So that's kind of a tie-in between like kind of bootlegs and store displays. And so this was an example of a countertop display for pencil toppers. And it wasn't just Star Wars, it actually had a mix of like Shogun Warriors, Space 1999, and nuclear weaponry. So it was like kind of prepare people for the nuclear holocaust at the time. And so I think this one worked too. Yeah, so I don't know if you have anything else to add on it. That was a very unusual display.
Yeah, I just love the appearance. It's very reminiscent of the 1980s.
Yeah. I like the mushroom cloud, just with Star Wars. It's just, yeah. You have to be there for that time, so moving on. So this is a set of displays from Sweden. Some really cool displays from the Power of the Force era in Sweden. On the right, and then you see a kind of display, kind of a more theatrical, poster display on the left. But what was cool in some of the toy displays from Sweden was they used imagery of the Kenner action figures. They used Return of the Jedi logo, the Power of the Force logo, the Millennium Falcon, and these are just to put together this set is unbelievably hard. It's like lightning striking the same place like 8 times to get all these different pieces. But just really striking displays, and they're kind of beautifully framed in the way Matthias had displayed them. And this is another example of one of the displays that kind of the items ship inside the box and then it converts into a display box. And so this is from Takara, who is a licensee for the action figures in Japan. And so the action figures were actually very similar to the US action figures. In many cases, they're almost identical, with some subtle differences. They had a sticker on them. Some of them had different, figures were slightly different. But they came in a bin like this that would hold 2 rows of the action figures, and then had just imagery from the movies. In many ways, I thought these displays had kind of an elegance to them that was lacking for some of the other countries. But this is, I think I don't know recently how many of these have turned up. There used to be, this was one in the 90s. You can see a few examples turning up of this one. It was one of my favorite action figure displays.
All right, we're kind of running low on time here, so we're going to get through the last section pretty quickly. What we're going to talk about here is Kenner print advertising. So we talked about Kenner displays earlier, or Will did. Kenner was the toy company in the vintage era that released most of the toys you're familiar with. I broke it up into a few different areas. The first one is ads that Kenner created themselves and then published, or had published. Ads that were created by retailers with aids created by Kenner. And then the last category would be ads totally created by retailers. So that's the 3 basic areas we'll be looking at. And here's just an introductory slide. Okay, this is a 1978 brochure that Kenner would have sent to their retailers, basically wholesalers who are looking to purchase Kenner items, and it's advertising a rebate promotion that that Kenner would run. I think you can see that the image there's a thumbnail image behind that Cheerios box showing what the ad would look like. Here's that actual ad as it ran in November 19th, on November 19th, 1978. It would have been in the comics section, so the Sunday comics section. And I think you can see it looks pretty much like that thumbnail image we just saw recently. There's a spotlight on several Star Wars toys here. That's the RC with the remote control R2-D2 in the top left. In the middle of Death Star, to the top right are the large size figures, and again, this advertises a rebate. In addition to the Star Wars toys, there's this kid who's having way too much fun with his stretch octopus. He looks absolutely elated. Here's a later Kenner brochure from 1981, again advertising to their retailers an advertisement they would run. So this is for another rebate offer, and they show a thumbnail image there of what the advertisement would look like. And then here is the actual ad as it ran on November 22nd, 1981. So you would have saw this in your Sunday comics. Again, it shows several Star Wars toys, and you can see that in the Millennium Falcon. And this would have been, boosting rebates for the Christmas season. Kenner also targeted the comic book audience. As you can see here, this is another ad put out to retailers saying that through their comic book ads, they would reach 100 million children. That's a lot of children. And you'll see a thumbnail there of one of the ads. And here's one of the actual ads. Those of you who read Marvel Comics, particularly the Star Wars line, probably remember seeing this. This would have been in the centerfold of a comic book. And again, it shows several Kenner toys that were new at the time, including Boba Fett, the Imperial Troop Transporter. These are nice items to find. You can find them for pretty cheap, and then you can put them on the wall in your toy room. They look pretty nice. As to glossy advertising, Kenner did some of that as well. So that would be advertising done in a magazine that you buy at a newsstand. In order to facilitate that, Kenner produced what is known as slicks. So that would be a full-color, glossy, high-quality reproduction of the ad as they designed it that they would send to publishers, and the publishers could then reproduce that in their magazines. Here's an example of one. It's a favorite of mine. It's daring children to enjoy the new Return of the Jedi figures. That's a pretty creative ad, I think. I don't know about your childhood Java, but mine did not have a giant hand that was capable of holding my figures. That was a nice touch that the advertiser put into that. That's Luke Skywalker there with his red lightsaber in the middle. This is another slick for another magazine, 1983. You see a couple of Star Wars toys there. This would have probably been in something like Women's Day. Okay, on to our next category. These would be ads that were not created wholly by Kenner, but ads that were created by the retailer with Kenner assistance. The main tool that Kenner used to help retailers make ads were their repro art books. These are basically annual compendiums of line art that a retailer could clip out that line art and paste it into a design to make their own ads. So this is the 78, 79 repro art book right there. Here you see the interior of the 78 book. It's the action figure page, and it shows all the line art that Kenner created for retailers to use. And then on the right, you see an ad from Payless that makes use of that very imagery. And you can see clearly there, the Han Solo, the Stormtrooper, even that Luke Skywalker figure comes right out of that repro art book. From the tail end of the line now, we have some 1985 repro art advertising the Power of the Force line. And again, that's just the action figure page. Then we see an ad from an outlet called Rayleigh's that makes use of some of that art. So I think you see Lando General and Borat there come right out of that art, so do the coins. Kenner also sent repro artwork out to retailers separate of the repro art book, so in envelopes. So this is their repro art for the 1983 spring ad campaign. They also sent folders with brochures and report stuff out to retailers in order to promote rebate promotions and things like that. This is a kit that was sent to retailers that included a brochure, a folder, and some report. So inside the folder, it just gives you instructions on how to make the ad. It tells the retailer to include the copy, the legal information, etc. All that stuff had to be clipped out and pasted in. And here's an example of the report that was included in that kit. Okay, so you see the items on which the rebates were offered. They also had a sheet showing providing call-outs and various graphics, so the retailer had some flexibility in how they put those ads together. Now, if you want to see an example of an ad put together using this very stuff. I have an example of that. This is from the St. Louis area in 1980 in the fall that advertises that rebate promotion with items drawn out of that kit we just looked at. Here are close-ups of some of the repro art, and then the actual images as reproduced in the ad. I think you can see they're pretty much exact. That little tag you see in the lower left, the retailer would have used the supplied numbered graphics to put their own price in there over the 000. The rest of the ad has other stuff drawn from Kenner repro art books, also stuff drawn from NPC sources. NPC is the model kit company. The Kenner repro art was also used outside of ads as physical objects. Here you see a bag, a shopping bag from a Circus World that was decorated using repro art, and also an anonymous piece of store signage. So it can be found in other areas as well. Okay, my favorite category of ads are the ads made by retailers without Kenner's help. Okay, so Kenner would probably be annoyed by this in some ways. In some ways, they did that repro art in order to provide consistency, in order that they could control how the things looked. But when the retailer was in control of it, you didn't really know how this stuff was going to look. So the first thing we're going to look at are some ads that were run in Heroes World catalog in the 70s. Heroes World was a comic-based thing. It sold comic book merchandise as well as sci-fi stuff. And the figures and all these stuff in these catalogs was drawn by students of the Joe Kubert School of Cartoony Graphic Art. Okay, as you can see this ad here, advertises some of the early toys. It's pretty dynamic and has a comic book flair to it. This later edition, from a later copy of the Heroes World catalog, is slightly different. So I'm assuming it was done by a different artist. It's similar but different. So yeah, done by different artists, or Snaggletooth and Hammerhead hit the gym between ads because Snaggletooth is a big buff on the right. But it's an interesting example of how things change when different artists involved. Some stores have their own art departments. This is Mervyn's, which I believe is a West Coast chain, or was. These are some nice painterly examples of the figures. I think the Kenner repro art is very rudimentary. These are rather realistic, and there's lots of colors involved, and so a really interesting look. Here's another Mervyn's ad, again with a very artsy sort of depiction of Kenner's 3-packs. These 3-packs are actually very rare now and worth thousands of dollars a piece, so it's an interesting ad. Other ones were less successful. Here we see an ad from Thrifty. I think you can see those figures. They're not looking so great. They're rather elongated and wimpy looking. Chewbacca in particular looks pretty terrible, and the faces on Luke and Han are kind of lamentable. Thrifty's must not have been the greatest source of advertising art, because this ad doesn't look that great either. I think you can see why Kenner wanted that repro art to look like it did, because they didn't have to worry about stores making their figures look terrible like this, because they look pretty terrible there. C-3PO in particular is rather odd. He might be a protocol droid, or he might be a Mexican wrestler. Here's another one. This is probably my favorite. Again, it's just, I don't know what the store is, but those figures are not looking so good. IG-88, that's no trooper. IG-88 looks like maybe like Groot, like a kitchen appliance with legs, but pretty bad. So that's moving on from our print advertising. I hope, even though we wouldn't put me, I hope you got something out of that. And the last piece here, I guess I'll take this just so we can wind this up here in the next couple minutes. We just picked some collectors to spotlight. Here we have Jonathan McElwain. Gus mentioned that he did a food presentation, and he uses displays to give his food collection context. So here, as you see, displays would fit in among his food items, so you can help explain the collection. Alex Pardee and Jerry James have done something similar with toys, so they use their toy displays to highlight their toy collection. It makes perfect sense, doesn't take that much room. Yehuda Kleinman has used some modern displays here as accents in his collecting room. He's also used them in his bathroom. Helps to have a loving wife, if you're going to do that. Robert Doherty, likes to fill up his displays with actual production stuff. So here he's filled to the brim, his Oral-B toothpick brush item, just like you're in an actual toy store. Same deal with the Chewbacca's and R2s, Burger King glasses, lightsabers. Takes some effort to do that, but it has an impact. Ross Barr, he likes to isolate his displays in like a museum-like setting, so that's another thing you can do if you have the space and the carpentry skills. And then this is my stuff, which is just basically chaotic. You know, I don't have the room to display everything, so a lot of it, unfortunately, is in drawers. You know, if you can get these flat files and have the space for them, that's an ideal solution. You know, if you don't have a place to show all that stuff off. That's kind of the end of it. I don't know if any of you else had closing comments.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming and listening to display talk. And if you guys have any questions, I know we're short on time, can't open the floor, but we'll be around here afterwards.
Yeah,
Feel free to come up and...
If you have any questions, these guys are going to be just next door in the social room, which is just around the corner to the left. So if you have any questions for them, we'll see you over there.